Hello, my name is Lizzie Gupta, and I am married to Ketan Gupta. I have the distinct honor and privilege of marrying into this amazing family. When I arrived here today and I was talking to Vipin about how he would like me to introduce him, he said, "You may want to mention that a math teacher always asks for the student to show his work." And I thought about it and how true that was. It was always the journey and not even necessarily the answer, but showing your work. And here in front of you, you see these amazing papers, and that is certainly Dr. Gupta's life's work. But I would also say that you're also seeing a much more important life work, and that is his beautiful children and his beautiful family. I know that the first time I met him, I was struck immediately by the warmth of his smile, which I recognized as the same one that my beautiful husband has, and now my beautiful son. I would say that to look at what his life work is to see his son Vipin, who you'll hear from now, and the beautiful relationship between a father and a son. And perhaps that is going to be, for me, the most lasting and important work and accomplishment that this marvelous, gentle, and generous man has given us all. Here's Vipin Gupta to speak about his father.
I'm here to share 3 things that I think you should know about Professor Gupta. And first, starting with inner drive. Inner drive. I remember when I was taking trigonometry, I got a 98, the highest grade in the class. And I went to Professor Gupta and showed him I got 98. And he spent not 1 hour, but 2 hours to show me how I could have gotten the other 2 points. And then about a year after that, I had to start taking the standardized tests, which, Professor Gupta didn't have to do that, take that, but I took the ACT, and the ACT math section, I did all right. You understand what I mean by all right. So, when I told him that, he said, this ACT, don't they offer extra credit? And it was at this point, this triggered a confrontation. And I said to him, you expect the impossible from me. And he said, well, if you do the impossible, you'll get ahead. But that was too much for me to really grasp at that time. I needed another step. I mean, in mathematical terms, I was saying, you were asking me to exceed my asymptotic limits. That's what I think you're doing. It was only about 25 years later, I was teaching a Persian student. I was teaching a Persian student, and the student taught me something. This Persian student taught me a saying in his culture, which is, if you strive for the impossible, you will do your best. And that propelled me right back to that confrontation I had with Professor Gupta. Because that was the extra step that I needed in order to comprehend this. So now I had 3 steps. If you strive for the impossible, you'll do your best. If you do your best, you will get ahead. But I still had the question why, which I asked Professor Gupta. Why? And I think he interpreted that as the variable why. So I never got, all I got was this intuitive look of course that's what we do. That's what we're supposed to do. So let me propel you forward then 15 years, where I had a mentor, and I guess it's safe to say a guru, by the nickname of Yoda. And I overheard a conversation that he had. And in that conversation, he said, I believe in the infinite perfectibility of humankind. And that was the other step I needed. That is what Professor Gupta was trying to convey to me with that look. So now, I had the whole framework. You strive for the impossible, you will do your best. You do your best, you will get ahead. You get ahead, you will contribute to the infinite perfectibility of humankind. And that's not just accomplishments, it's how you conduct yourself. Now, one of the thrilling things, once I had these pieces, and it took me 2 decades after Professor Gupta raised me to put it all together, is once you have that, then all of a sudden, you move into a whole new realm when it comes to setbacks and breakthroughs. In fact, the setback is part of the breakthrough. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you put this in mathematical terms, and actually you can also put it in religious terms. If you do the equation, so this is your next exam question, all right? Write out the equation for a swinging pendulum or a battering ram. It is a very powerful motion in order to break down the barriers that Van Gogh's talking about in that poem. This rocking motion. And you notice a lot of religions have that, right? And I've heard it described in Judaism as you're going from the real world into the other world, the spiritual world, real world and the other world. But you can also look at it as the setback is part of the breakthrough. The setback is part of the breakthrough. And that's true in Hinduism, in Judaism, in many, many religions. So once you do that, this explains a lot. Because, as many of you have seen, Professor Gupta, as he got older, he became more multicolored. He was brown, he was white, he was black, and he was gray. And after he lived his last day, I have been trying to learn more about Professor Gupta. And I asked, did anyone ever make fun of him? Did anyone ever ridicule him? I especially asked my mother, because he may not tell me, but I know he would tell her. And the answer was no. Never. Why was that? Because of the content of his character, because of how he conducted himself, because of the respect that he engendered. That was true here and also abroad. So he could have very easily retreated from the world as he became more multicolored. He didn't do that. He could have interpreted that as a setback. But the breakthrough is how everybody treated him. Okay, so now I have to give you a pop quiz. I bet you have never had a pop quiz within a final exam, okay? So this city, this big little city, is known for a particular industry. To put that into mathematical terms, it's known for probability and statistics, all right? So if you have a 100-sided dice, okay, 100-sided die, you roll it, you get a 3. And 3 is an auspicious number in Hinduism. You roll it again, you get a 3. You roll it a third time, you get a 3. All right, so in your exam book, just calculate, what are the odds of that happening? So while you're doing that, let me tell you about 3 low probability events. Let me close with these 3 low probability events as it relates to Professor Gupta. All right? But these were not random. These were deliberate choices. All right. First, had Professor Gupta not seized the audacious dream of coming to America, and this was at a time, I am told, that the United States was admitting 1,000 Indians a year. 1,000 out of hundreds of millions. Had he not seized that dream, had he not encountered and engaged a kind and rule-abiding passport officer in the U.S. Embassy who guided him through the labyrinth fairly in order to get the final approvals to come to America. And finally, had he not chosen to marry the top math student of 1962 from Delhi University, when he could have very easily gone back to India and married a prospective bride arranged for him over there, albeit they had lower test scores. Had those 3 low probability events not happened, all right, think about that. that means none of us would be here right now taking this final exam. Not one of us. 6 of us would have been marked as no-shows for this final exam, including that wolf pup. Okay? So Professor Gupta, my father, he started this American Bollywood drama. And we in the Gupta family, we continue this movie with additional Jewish producers, with Latter-day Saint organization, and Hindu wisdom, all woven together through synergistic storytelling that was done by every single person that was on this stage today for you. Jai Ho.